I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines to order.
Mike's not on. Oh,
Not close enough?
Test.
Not close enough. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sandy Pines Board of Directors to order. Our first order of business is invocation. Dennis King.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we come to you, we thank you for this beautiful day and for the blessings that you have given us here at Sandy Pines. As we begin this meeting, we ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we make our decisions on those needs for Sandy Pines. Help us to be unified in making these decisions, and above all, we pray that your will be done. We ask this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kimberly, could you do the roll call, please?
Ellen Carpenter,
Here.
Jenny Hager, here, Jen Hawk,
here.
Kelly Johnson,
Here.
Dennis King,
Here.
Larry Munger,
Here.
Paul Pepple,
Here.
Stephanie Stefania, Scott Wyman.
Here.
All present.
Our next order of business is the approval of new part members. Jeff, could you give us a breakdown on the numbers?
Absolutely. So for the month of August, we had 21 new sales through the park. Breakdown of those sales were 15 for sale by owners and 6 through our park sales department. Out of those new sales, we had 41 new members coming into Sandy Pines. And the demographic breakdown on that is 2 members in their 30s, 21 members in their 40s, 17 members in their 50s, and 1 member in their 60s.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion to accept these new members, approve these new members.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved, same sign. Our next order of business is the approval of the minutes from August of 2021, which were distributed to us previously. Are there any questions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
You make a motion? There's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our next order of business is to introduce the new board of 2022. We have a new member, Scott Wyman. We're glad to have you here and look forward to working with you. We have, at this time, we're going to vote on the executive board nominations. The board of directors, when we met for our planning session on Monday, the members were allowed to express interest in positions in the executive board. And that one as follows: for chair, Ellen Carpenter; vice chair, we have Dennis King and Larry Munger who expressed interest; treasurer, Jenny Hager; and secretary, Jim Huff. That results in one position being contested and requires a vote by secret ballot. The ballots were provided to us previously as we came in. At this time, we will pass the ballot to Kimberly, who will read them.
Dennis King. Dennis King. Dennis King. Dennis King. Dennis King.
That's five.
Dennis King. Larry Munger. Dennis King. And Dennis King.
The result of the vote is that Dennis King will be the vice chair for 2022. That results in the following for the executive committee: Chair Ellen Carpenter, Vice Chair Dennis King, Treasurer Jenny Hagar, Secretary Jim Huck. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, I'm going to ask Jenny Hager to make comments. We're going to talk about the Sandy Pines and Lake Monterey financial statements. Jenny, do you have any comments?
The finance committee met last Wednesday afternoon. We did not have a quorum. There were people that unfortunately being the time of year just couldn't attend due to work in school related things. So we didn't have a quorum, but the good news is we have one new member that will be joining us in our next meeting in off-season. And we have at least two others that have expressed interest. So that will be good too, for the members on the committee. We did have some good discussion, and even though the members that are not present at the meeting have all of the reports emailed to them for their review, if they have questions or comments on any of that, they have ample time to email us, ask questions with Kimberly, which none of that took place this time, to my knowledge. But we did have good discussion with those that were present. We went through, it was just a 1 month, looking at August and almost ready to close out the year. So it was good to see those numbers looking strong. The park is in a very strong financial position. We didn't have too many questions or comments. They're having the final closing out of the documents and everything for the building and waiting for that final payment to come in. That's probably the biggest thing that we're waiting for financially, but that will be coming. We have confirmation of that. And just want everybody to know that the administrative staff is doing a wonderful job. We thank Kimberly and Jeff for their guidance and all of them.
Kimberly, could you go through the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails financial statements for August of 2021?
Sure. As of August 2021, Sandy Pines operational cash is $690,000 behind the prior year balance. However, the fiscal year closeout of the financials will provide a true-up of operational cash from the asset reserve balance for the capital projects completed during the year, along with the approximate remaining $1 million FEMA receivable to come. You will notice that the FEMA receivable reimbursement is currently being held in the OTAR account or other receivables, which you'll see on the face of the financial statements until that is received from the state. Total net income is approximately $20,000 lower than prior year in the month of August 2021, and that is due to the following. Total income for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail is $290,000 over prior year and 1.3% over the annual budget we had for the fiscal year. Cost of goods sold for the year is higher than prior year by $18,000, and $12,000 of that is an increase to the recreational cost of goods sold that was purchased for the 50th anniversary inventory. Total operating expenses as of August 2021 year to date is $172,000 over prior year. 16.8% remain to reach the budget for the fiscal year for those operation expenses in 2021. The repair and maintenance expense makes up $49,500 and utilities $120,000 of that $172,000 difference. The increase in utilities for the year is a result of the lake pumps being used earlier in the year and the increase in the price per kilowatt going up nationally across all counties. Resort services is 25% over the annual net income budget as of August 2021. However, there are additional charter cable expenses that were delayed with invoicing and additional expenses for the utilities and the true up of member electric for the season that will be reflected on the final fiscal year September 2021 financial statements. Recreation net income is $48,000 under prior year, yet has $51,000 more to reach the fiscal year budget. The inventory sales of the 50th inventory and 50th sponsorships makes up $40,000 of that prior year difference. And social activities expenses for the 50th events make up $47,000 of the difference. More details will come at September 30th with the overall net financial collaboration of those 50th anniversary events. Park and Garden is has had a successful season as of the end of August 31st. 27%. They were 27% from meeting their annual fiscal year budget, while they're 6,000 over the prior year amount. Rentals is also having a successful season and has reached over the annual fiscal year net income budget by $25,000. This is attributable to the increase in the golf cart rentals and may be slightly impacted with the subsequent invoices on the lease of the golf carts to come. The retail center is significantly higher than prior year with additional laundry and bulk pen storage, which was quite low in the prior year, 2020 with COVID. The department is still 57% away from meeting the 2021 annual budget for their net income. Sales is 60% over the projected annual net income budget with an increase in camping and member sales, which is offset with the reduction in operating expenses through the year. Total other income is behind budget by 70% in prior year, $150,000, which is due to the cumulative unrealized losses in the investment account. This loss, however, is made up of dividend income, keeping the overall investment value just above prior year. That summarizes my summary for Sandy Pines.
Do any of the board members have questions or comments? I'll accept a motion to approve the Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails financial statements for August of 2021.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Kimberly, could you give us a breakdown on the Lake Monterey Golf Course financial statements for August of 2021?
Sure. As of August 2021, Lake Monterey Golf Course operational cash is $20,000 ahead of the prior year balance, while the fiscal year closeout of the financials will provide a true-up of operational cash from the asset reserve balance for capital projects completed during the year and the payment of any receivables owed to Lake Monterey from Sandy Pines at the end of the year. Total net income is approximately $16,000 higher than prior year in the month of August 2021 and $59,000 over the annual fiscal year budget for 2021. Lake Monterey does anticipate making the same $750,000 payment to, $75,000 payment to Sandy Pines on that payables account. Total income for Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail is 25.8% over prior year and 3.2% away from meeting the annual budget for the fiscal year. This is attributable to the increase in overall green fees and sales within the clubhouse for food, beverage, and merchandise. Cost of goods sold for the year is higher than prior year by $17,000, which is attributable to this increase in sales just mentioned. And total operational expenses as of August 2021, year to date, is $8,000 under prior year and 15% remaining to reach that budget for the fiscal year 2021. And that concludes my report for Lake Monterey.
Do any of the board members have any questions about Lake Monterey Golf Course? I'll accept a motion to approve the Lake Monterey Golf Course financial statements for August of 2021.
So moved.
Dennis and Paul.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Disapprove, same sign. Motion carries. Our next order of business is finalizing the 2021-2022 budget. Kimberly, do you have any comments?
I think that's Jim.
Okay.
All right, so for the 2021-2022 budget, we've received a lot of member feedback as well as, the board, Kimberly and myself and the staff have really taken a look at this budget to try and make it work for everybody for next season. The budget that we're voting on does have boat stake fees in it, and we'll walk through kind of the approach that we did and then the reason why we're going down this road. So again, we've identified through our lake committee that we've got some things that we need to work on with the lake to help with its improvement and sustainability. A lot of the impact is, everybody shares the lake. It's our number one asset. A lot of the impact as we're going through the study is due to boating. We're not trying to single anybody out, but we are trying to assign the cost where the impact is coming. So our approach that we looked at was we took a look at the number of boats that are on the lake. We do have a capacity issue here at Sandy Pines for the boats that are on the lake. We have approximately 1,400 boat stakes, and we have approximately 1,200, I believe, boats that are registered here at Sandy Pines that are off and on using the lake. So everybody remember at the beginning of the season, hey, the lake level is down. What are we doing with the lake level? In order to maintain that lake level, we do have 4 pumps that are in the lake. We took a look at the 4 pumps. Those were turned on significantly earlier than we have in previous years. And that really didn't make an impact on bringing that level up. What really made an impact on that lake level was the rain, if you remember, that we had in July. So right now, the pumps that we have are generating about 750,000 gallons, I believe, to try and move that lake up per day. And the evaporation during the season, when it's a hot, humid day, 85 degrees, sticky, that evaporation is going to lose about 1 million gallons a day. So we're behind the 8 ball on that. We recognize that as an issue. We've had to move boats around from, phase 3 and other places into, phase 6 to just so they wouldn't drown themselves. So one of the recommendations is to add some additional lake pumps in there that can produce more water. In turn, that's going to increase our operational costs from an electricity standpoint. We saw a huge, as Kimberly stated in the financials, we saw a huge impact with increase in electricity this year. So we reviewed electrical costs for the pumps over a 5-year period. We took a look at also other impacts of the lake. We looked at water testing that is needed to be done for the lake for the last 5 years. PLM that does the treatment for us, we took those costs over the last 5 years. And we also took a look at other maintenance costs. Uptime on the pumps this year, because we ran them so hard, was not 100%. So those pumps go down. Ben and his team need to go out there and fix them. There's parts that need to be paid for. So we took a look at all those costs and we said, what is generated to cover those costs through boat stickers, dock fees, and things of that nature. And then we expanded that to 2 additional pumps, so a total of 6 pumps. With all of those costs tabulated, if we had those 2 pumps in there for the last 5 years, we would be losing anywhere from $22,000 to $107,000. So we know we have a problem with trying to get that lake level up. We have to figure out how to offset those costs. So right now in the budget, what we try to do is simplify the categories. There's a boat sticker for a water boat sticker, a boat sticker for land if you're putting it on land. There's a non-motorized boat sticker for kayaks, pedalboard boats, things of that nature. So in the budget today, there's going to be just 1 motorized boat sticker. If you have a motorized boat, there's 1 motorized boat sticker fee. That's going to be $110. The non-motorized boat sticker, which would be your kayaks and non-motorized boats, that's going to go from $15 to $35. Dock fees are going to remain at $500, and then there's going to be a stake fee, which is and just so the membership understands, we've taken a look at this. We went from $150 to $120. We $100 we settled on a $75 stake fee for anybody that has a boat stake, and that will generate enough revenue to offset some of these operational costs that we're going to foresee in the future with electricity, maintenance costs, and the things that we've already highlighted. So that's what's in the budget today, and that's what's on the floor. Thank you for a lot of the member feedback. We got a bunch of write-ins, a bunch of walk-ins to the office, and we did not take this lightly, and we did not just flippantly say we're going to put these costs out there. It's not an easy decision. It was a lot of difficult conversations, and that's why we're here in September going over this budget. Typically, we get it done in August. We did hear the membership ask us to take a deeper dive and look at this, and that's what we have, and we feel this is an appropriate proposal for the board to vote on in the budget. I don't know if there's any other questions you have on the budget or anything else
I'd just like to make a comment. As Jeff said, this definitely wasn't easy, but with the increasing cost of electricity, we have to cover those costs. And right now our dues only cover 40% of the cost operating Sandy Pines. Everything else comes from campers, sales, and fee. And the cost of living is going up, as you all know. So we looked at this as a way to cover those costs. The other options we have are raising dues and having an assessment. We're not stopping here. We're going to continue to look at how to pay for this. And I understand it is our lake. It's everybody's lake. And we're going to continue to look at this. Right now, this is what we deem to be the best way to cover these expenses. Does any other board members have any questions?
Not a question, comment.
Jim?
Just to clear things up, there never was a boat stake fee listed as a boat stake fee. But if you looked at the difference in the cost for water, a water sticker and a non-water sticker and all that, the boat stake fee was built into that. All we've done is separate this out and gone from 8 categories of fees to 4 and equalized it across for everybody. So it just kind of cleaned it up. And I mean, some people say, well, they never charged, and other people said, I've always paid. So, yeah, you were never charged separately, but it was factored into the water sticker. So we've just taken it out and made it actually more transparent.
Anyone else?
Jeff made a very accurate picture as to the potential costs that are looming on the horizon, and necessary costs, because we got around there to enhance, protect, and keep our most valuable asset. I think most in this room would agree that that's the thing that keeps us coming, and it attracts new business, it keeps our property values high. There's a million reasons why this lake is absolutely the number one asset that we have, and I completely agree. Where I disagree with the proposed budget is with the inclusion of the boat state fees and the increase in the sticker fees, basically, the majority of these fees are going to be assessed to boat owners to take care of the lake asset. And that's where I have a little bit of a difficult time saying, gosh, I know that, you make up 60% of it, and maybe you as boat owners are part of the cost. I don't disagree with that. I'm a boat owner, I'm a boat state owner, and I will pay for preservation of our lake. I will pay. Whatever you ask me to pay, I will pay. But when you ask only a certain portion of that group to pay for the group's most valuable asset overall, I cannot in good conscience vote in favor of that. Well, not all of you in the room, but some of you in the room voted me to watch out for your best interest, and not only your best interest, but the park's best interest, not necessarily the park president or the board, but the park's best interest. And in my opinion, this does not service it correctly, especially because the bulk of these fees are going towards, as Jeff accurately pointed out, these pumps, which I agree we need. We can all benefit from a more consistent water level and a deeper water level. We will all benefit from that. Those lower water levels did not come because of boulders. Yes, the erosion did. Yes, you see buoys around the lake, which are a tremendous asset, but they're out there because of boulders. We have marine patrol, and there's all costs in that. I got it. The biggest bulk, like 80 to 90% of this, is those pumps, which I agree are a huge thing. I was part of the lake committee, and Jim was, and Stephanie, and we worked hard to come up with ideas, and I think those pumps are a great idea, and yes, there's a cost, but if it's benefiting the entire park, and we're all benefiting from this, why are we only selecting a select group to pay for this? Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll accept a motion to approve the budget as presented.
So move. Kelly, I'll second.
Kimberly, could we do a roll call vote, please?
Scott Lamb,
Yes.
Ellen Carpenter,
Yes.
Jenny Hager,
Yes.
Jim Hunt,
Yes.
Kelly Johnson,
Yes.
Dennis King,
No.
Larry Munger,
Yes.
Paul Pemble,
No.
Bethany Catherine. 7-2, motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. I just want to say that has not been an easy 2 months for this board. We have had lots of conversations, we've had lots of debate, but most importantly, and I'd like to stress this, we've had respectful debate. We've been able to go back and rediscuss things, and we can agree to disagree, and we can respect what everybody says. And the park should learn from that. We are trying to do the best that we can. And I want to thank this board for all their hard work on this. I know it wasn't easy. And with that, I'm going to go into my comments. And first of all, I hope you all had a really good summer. I know we didn't have, the rain that we needed sometimes. We tried to do a rain dance, then we overdid it, and then we had too much. But the end result is we all had a good summer, I think. We enjoyed it. The 50th was special. We had some good events. We learned some things from these 50th events, most of which were brought to us by volunteers. Some things that will be better for the park, some events for the teens, get them off the golf carts, but things that are just for them. We found some things that we think they're going to find enjoyable. I want to also ask you to please look at official channels of communication to get your information. The website has valuable information. The official social media accounts have valuable information. Unofficial Facebook groups aren't always accurate, their opinion. So try to hit those official channels. This meeting is a good source. So are face-to-face meetings, annual meeting, you can come, you can ask anything you want. So please, stay educated and stay in touch. And most of all, be respectful to each other, please. Jeff, your comments?
Yep. Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, I would reiterate, the board has done a really good job looking at some tough stuff this season. I'd like to thank the membership as well. This was my first full season. When I took the job, I heard it was pretty intense and pretty fast paced, and that was no lie. I thought it was a good season. 50th anniversary went well. We got a lot of good feedback on the events, and we just appreciate everybody that helped support the staff and the board and myself, especially the staff. The staff did a phenomenal job this year, working their hiney's off on making certain that everything looked good, events were ready to go, and so I appreciate all the support from the members. And as Ellen stated, have had people come into my office and have some disagreements on some things, and that's fine, and we can do it respectfully, and we may part agreeing to disagree, but a lot more often than not, we've had members come into the office, and when we sit down and kind of walk through the logic and where we got our information and share the accurate information, people are walking out of that office saying, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And they become, aligned with what the board and the park are trying to do. So I have an open door policy. I've never shut a door on anybody and said, don't come in and talk to me. I'm very approachable. If you have any questions, come in and sit down and have a conversation with me. If I'm busy, we can schedule something. I've never turned anybody away. With that being said, I'm going to start with bullet point number 2, the software update, because then there's a lot of people here wanting to know about the cartridge. So the software update is systems that we are working on during the off season. The architecture of this system is actually in progress. We're going to see the first blush of this in October 7th. We're going to see the first blush through our member service staff. And the reason why we're doing this is a lot of the data that we've tried to pull to make decisions here in the park is either not available on paper or non-existent. And it's kind of hard to run. We are a campground, we are a recreational community, but if you look at the financials, we're a $20 million organization, and we're trying to make accurate decisions, timely decisions, and make certain that the members are serviced appropriately, quick, standard answers. You know, if you go to one department and they pull something out of the system, they may give you a different answer. We're trying to avoid that, and the system is really going to consolidate 3 or 4 systems into one. And really, I think we're running about 10 plus different softwares because everything is so disjointed, and we're gonna lump all that down into one. And I'd say one, and then public safety has some security systems that are actually made. But this is the team's excited about it, and hopefully when you guys get back, you'll see the advantage of it. And during the off season, make certain that you're checking your emails, because we will start pushing some information to the members to make certain that we have accurate information when we migrate from the old system to the new system. Accurate addresses, emails, phone numbers, off-season address. Sandy Pines cannot be your off-season address. Sandy Pines cannot be your permanent address. That violates our campground status. So just take a look at those emails when they come through, and make certain that we have accurate information. All right, we want to go to the Park Bridge. We'll put up some pictures here on the screen. So while you're doing that, background on the Park Bridge. I've had a lot of people walk into the office, and I've seen some emails that, hey, what's going on? We didn't know anything about this. This has actually been on the capital fund, and it's also been in the works since 2018. This was actually an item. The board has voted on it the last 3 years to move money or hold money in that capital fund to support this bridge.
The board has voted on that money, not us.
The members have voted on the capital reserve fund, and through that ballot, which if you want to stop into my office, I can provide to you, that ballot clearly states that the members have voted to agree to move money and an assessment of a few $100s, which you guys pay, and that gets into a capital fund. And then the board, through the process that we just went through, reviews that capital fund list of projects on an annual basis, and then they vote on that to say, yep, these are projects that we're going to do for the park. Yep, they're capital projects, and yep, we have the money for it. And that capital fund project was voted on and approved in August. So the members did vote on this.
For the bridge.
You'll have your opportunity
Okay.
at the end, so let's get through the presentation and finish the business, and then you'll have an opportunity.
So in 2018, what was highlighted was an issue that took place over by phase 3 with an employee. And that generated a review of our insurance. And what transpired from that was the insurance company highlighted this as a high-risk potential liability. From that, did a risk assessment in 2019 of how do we remove that high-risk potential liability. And I have the risk assessment in my office. I don't have any issues with people coming in. If you want to set up a meeting, I'll walk you through it. But basically, they take a look at, is there any other thing we can do at that intersection to avoid a death or an injury, which will cause a liability? We took a look at multiple things. We had meetings with Allegheny County Road Commission. We talked to other engineers. We talked about a crosswalk. We talked about a flashing stop sign. If anybody's been downtown Holland in between Hope and Main Street in Holland, you see the concrete medians there with the flashing crosswalks. You push that button and traffic stops. as people cross through there from Hope College every day. We took a look at that. We took a look at multiple items. We took a look at grants. Could we get a state grant? Could we get a county grant? We talked to the townships. We went through an exhaustive list of how can we avoid having an issue at that crossing. The risk assessment said the only way you're gonna truly avoid that is eliminate the risk. Well, you can't reroute the traffic. We talked to the county, you can't reroute the traffic. What's happened on 26th Street, and this was before my time, but apparently that was used for a detour for other road construction. And the level of traffic has increased, the speeds have increased, and the one that quite honestly scares me the most is the level of commercial trucking down that has increased. So when we go to the county and say, hey, can we put a crosswalk there, and you push that button, what do a lot of people do when they push that button and it starts flashing? Well, I got the right of way. You have a semi coming down there at 65, 70 miles an hour, they're not gonna stop. You can't stop that traffic. We've talked about rerouting. County's not gonna reroute it. So you either go under the road, or you go over the road. And then you shut that path off between phase 3 and phase 6. We evaluated a tunnel. A tunnel came in at about the same cost. The challenge with the tunnel from a security standpoint, I don't know who's had, kids and teenagers that, hey, I got a long tunnel on there, nobody's watching me, I'm gonna goof around. So there's some security challenges there. We could put cameras in there. But the biggest thing was, one, we would have to raise the road. County would expect us to raise the road. And two, too close to the watershed. There was a challenge of how often is that going to flood and how often is that going to shut down that tunnel. We evaluated the bridge. The bridge came as the best option to put over that road. It meets MDOT specifications. It meets the county specifications and requirements. We have certified engineers that have designed it. We have a general contractor that has done the bridge, these kinds of bridges before. What you see on the screen right now is how the bridge is going to go from phase 3 to phase 6. So on the far right, as you're looking at the screen, that is phase 3. It's almost like an on-ramp, off-ramp approach. Originally, we had a straight shot coming through there, and it bumped into one of our members. And so we feathered that, turned it towards the campsites in phase 3. There are going to be some tree removals. We're trying to make certain that we're not tearing down a ton of trees to make this project. We still want a campground look and a campground atmosphere. There will be some tree removals, but then it's going to traverse over 26th Avenue. And then on the left is phase 6. And it's going to, if you look at phase 6, it's almost going to land right on that knoll that's there now. And if you can go to the, that is from the bridge engineer, and that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be approximately 200 feet from one side of the road to the other. It's going to be 16 and a half feet high from that bottom rim, and that's going to allow for semi trucks to go through. That's going to allow for farming equipment to go through. It's also going to allow for, if you do your research and you go out there, MDOT's requirement is 15 feet. Anybody driving on a highway will see those yellow signs, the clearances 15.5, 15 feet. The MDOT requirement is 15 feet. We originally had a plan of 15.2 to be slightly over. Another reason for generating some cost is the county wanted that to go to 16 and a half feet so they can allow for a couple of overlayments of asphalt during construction to upkeep the roads. So that generated some additional cost because the abutments, which are the kind of wing things, we'll show those in a second. Those had to increase as well in height. You'll see that it's 200 feet. It's roughly 12 feet, 4 inches wide. It will have two-way traffic on it. It will also have an area for people to walk across. Ben and myself and the bridge company are looking at, do we paint a lane in there for pedestrian walking? When you look at a lot of the golf carts, the golf carts are about 4.5 feet wide, and that gets you 9 feet. And then you still have some extra for people to walk across. It's going to have a concrete deck that's, again, going to cost a little bit more, but the recommendation was to have a concrete deck versus wood, simply because the span or the life of this bridge is estimated to be 50 years. And we don't want to be ripping up a wooden deck periodically over a road. So we went with a little more cost again, but concrete. It will have, you'll see the sides on that. There's going to be some, and we'll show you some other pictures of what it will potentially look like. But we're going to have some fencing that goes above that, the sides of the railings, 8 to 10 feet. So yeah, you can't have people throwing stuff over that, golf carts driving and then, throwing stuff on the road. It's not going to be totally enclosed at the top. We've seen and again, talked to other golf courses, other communities, some of the conversation with people that did have, chain fence or like a fencing on top of that. Their comments were, from a maintenance perspective and things of that nature, if they would have left it open, that would have been a better way for them to go. If you want to go to the next picture, please. Keep going. No. No. Those are the abutments for the wings. Those are going to be poured concrete, and that's what the bridge is going to sit on. And that is the structure. It's called a spread footing. And again, all of this has been through certified engineers, through MDOT, and the county has looked at this and approved plans. So the next steps on this is we've already contracted Consumers Power. They have started to make some clearings. There's 2 poles on Sandy Pines' property. If you look at that, you'll see the electric lines. We're going to have to relocate a couple of poles that are on Sandy Pines' property. There's another pole, I saw the gentleman in here earlier, that is in an easement on his property. The trees have started to be cleared and put some additional anchors down. So that is already in process. The timeline is we're looking at we have another review with Allegheny County next week on our timeline, and the plan is to start moving dirt around November 1st. And the timeline to get this all completed would be preferably before April 15th when the membership comes back. Worst case scenario, the first week of May. But as we saw with this building from a FEMA perspective, the supply chain is very challenged, and that's the timing that we have, and that's what we're marching towards. We do have some security things that we are looking at. I think there was a writing question about security cameras, lighting, things of that nature. We are looking at that. We have not decided on final positioning. It's not expected to point to any cameras in trailers or houses or anything like that. The expectation is we we have cameras on that bridge 24/7 for safety reasons. So, those final placements of lights and cameras are still TBD right now as we work through it with the bridge designer and contractor. Apologize for the length on that, but I knew this was going to be a topic of discussion tonight. So we will post these out. I don't know if you had any of them. We will post this out on the website. Here's some examples of what this contractor has done in the past. It's going to be a weathered steel look. It's not going to be a painted, but it will be a weathered steel look, almost like that rusty kind of color. You could see a bridge like this over Macatawa Legends in Holland and over I-96 over by I think it's the Adams Street exit, 16th and Adams Street exit in Holland. The bridge engineer that has designed that bridge is done many things. So we put a lot of thought into this, made certain that we're following the book and not doing anything haphazard. So yeah, if you can hold that one right there, you can go back to no. That is the
Back up top.
no, that one right there. That is the weathered steel look. Okay. It's called weathered steel look. So it's basically unpainted raw steel. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Next, we will have a presentation from the Chair of the Lake Committee, Jim Buchanan.
You got it? A little bit of what we've established this year. Do you think the top is going to be personally coming?
I can answer that. Yes. Thank you.
Jim, do you want me to use up here? Or we can just let that. Okay.
Thank you. I am not technologically advanced. So the design was from Jeff, a multi-talented individual.
My hands.
Hello.
No.
Push the buttons right here. Hold it down. Hello.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss what we've been able to accomplish this year. Thank you to all the board members that helped and that continue to help. I feel like it's almost a board program, so many of the board members. But anyways, I'd like to go through first some of the new things that we came up with this year. And again, Paul, Stephanie, and Larry were key in allowing these. They were there the majority of the time. So, and obviously Jeff, I can't believe how many meetings he shows up to still with all the heads he wears, he does. And anyway, so the very first thing is, I've been working on this for quite a while, but as we know, our lake is our most valuable asset, and that's kind of what drove the lake committee to get together. So if we go to the top of the first page, then if you go to the first page behind there, I was able to get a bathymetric survey bid out. And if you look at the first page, Heartland Dredging is the gentleman, the other gentleman that came through, so I was able to get a hold of this gentleman. And you can see this bid right here to do the work is $5,200. This is kind of time sensitive. If we want to do it this year, he said if he finds out in the next week or so that we will do it, he can still do it in the month of October to get us this. If you go to the page behind that, that is what they do. They go down with GPS, one more page up there. One more. Right there. So they go and you see the grid for the depth of our lake. And that is what they will do. He's already pulled our lake up and he's looked at it on the, from the satellite, and you can see what it is. You go to the next page, that is what they can do when they talk about the sludge and what has built up. Now, that $5,200 price is based on if we have any original surveys or any original depths for the lake in any of our paperwork. Because then what he can do is overlay the original digging depth to what it currently is. If we can do that, if you look at that second page, like it's on there now, the red boxes show where there's depths of sludge or some type of additive that our lake has gotten shallow. Most of us boaters know it's gotten a lot shallower, especially the fishermen. So we know that we've got a lot of fill in. I think over by your new area, Jenny, you guys were 16 foot originally. And if we look at the 2019 report that came in, some of those areas are now down to 10. So we know there's a lot of fill in all the way around the lake. We are a man-made lake and we're a sand lake. Those are the worst filling quickly. And then we also have a dam at the end. So anything that washes into the lake stays in the lake. So it doesn't come out down Riverside. So we have to make a proactive measure to get that out of there if we want to keep our lake. Otherwise, it will revert back and it will become a pond. If you look at the third picture, that is the shallow area where, in this case of this lake, it is very overrun. So the very first thing we have to do, if the board would so approve, would be to, as the first page says, somewhere between 5,200 and 10,500. The 10,500 price is if we do not find what our original depth was, they will then take probing rods and they will go every 2 feet. If they hit an anomaly, they will check it even closer, but it will double the price if we can't find the original depths that we were at. And we might be able to find those in original papers, or we might be able to find them when we probably had to put in some DNR when we built your area for Jenny. There might be some paperwork that showed what that lake depth was. So if we can find that, we can cut this bill in half. The nice thing about it is if you read his proposal, if we do dredging with this company 2 years, and he said he would even consider a third year because we're doing this in the fall, he will completely credit the amount of dredging, this survey off the dredging. The reason they don't do the surveys for free is a lot of people got the surveys done and did nothing. So they spent all this time and money and got nothing out of it. So they're not out there to make money on this survey. They really want to do the dredging. The survey will show us what we need to do. So that's a great way to be able to move forward on our lake. And again, that's just one of the things we're proposing to the board. It's going to have to be done at some point. It will continue to fill in. So to get into the dredging costs, that gets way up there. And that's something where, again, Ellen has talked about the beginning of looking at our lake. There will have to be some more investments. So I, for one, am a boat owner, a state owner. I agree with the numbers because I would love to start putting some money in that kitty to be able to take our #1 asset and keep it going. That could get, it says there, 125,000 per 5 acres. Just so you guys know, our lake is 262 acres. Based on 262 acres, that is 4,000 or 43,560 feet per acre. You divide that, 1 foot depth of sludge brings you to 1,613 yards per acre. If we have 1 foot of sludge everywhere to remove, at $12 a foot or a cubic yard, that puts it at about 5 million. I don't believe it's going to be that much, but I'm just telling you, if we let it continue to fill in, the price does nothing but go up. So there are 2 different ways to get that footage cost. One is to get a geobag, where we have to find a place on our own property and we have to put all the chemicals that have come off the farmlands in that type of a bag. The cheapest way is if we can find a local farmer that would be willing to let us tunnel the pipes, and as we're sucking the sludge out, put it back on his farm, and it will be very, very good for him to grow on that because we're giving it back as fertilizer. So that's the worst one. So we can go on from there, but that's part of what we've got to accomplish this year, to try and look at the longevity of our lake. The next is the riprap. The riprap of the dam came up because of one of the, when the dam was looked at by the engineers. And those final prices I do not have added to here. I believe you already have them. I didn't get them from Jeff, and I think they were still working on a third bid, so you guys would know what it is. However, Jeff did punch the numbers in that he knew they were gonna be. Riprap of the dam looks like, depending on what it is, it could be between 50,000 and 85,000. Again, we need to take that concrete that's breaking up, and we have to do something to secure it before we don't have a dam. So that's something that has to be looked at. The ballast ban, if you go to the next page, there was a University of Minnesota report that was generated. That report generated huge amounts of interest from all over the world. It's this page right here. And all this is saying is that they had so much interest and so many boat companies calling them that they are going through extreme peer reviews before they let their data out. They want to make sure that everybody has looked at it and that there was no agenda other than saving the lakes and the ecology. So they are reviewing that. That should easily be able to be reported to you before the springtime when the next look at this has to be done. But I don't have a report. I've been calling them, I've been emailing them, and this is the update I got, that they will be getting it out, but they want to make sure that it has as much peer review as possible. So that answers that one. Then we go to the boat list. The next letter is the letter that we put together. And that's this page. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it. The Lake Committee of Sandy Pines is recommending that the Board of Directors approve the use of boat lifts in Monterey. Boat lifts would be canopy free so as not to impede on anyone's view. Approval from the park director would be needed as well as a permit. Boat lifts are safe and effective erosion control. If you go around the lake right now, especially with the lower levels, you can see a lot of pontoon boats and other boats that are up there. They're actually causing more erosion. If those boats were on lifts, it would be less erosion, but they're causing more erosion and more damage to our shoreline than what they're just by sitting there. So anyways, boats feet weaken the shoreline. They create a conductive environment for erosion, allowing the use of lifts would get boats off the beaches, off the bottom of the lake, slowing the shoreline erosion. Lifts also provide more accessibility for boats from disabled members. And the boat lifts as well as sea legs. And there is a lot of sea legs out there. And that's one reason the sea legs, some people can afford them, other people can't. The little short little boat ramps are much less than the sea legs. So it'll be easier for them to be able to purchase. They would also prevent boats from slamming into seawalls and the docks, minimizing damage to both the structure. I don't know if you guys have been out there on the water, but there is more and more floating wood in the water, and that's from some of those docks that are falling apart. So we want to minimize that damage, and then the boat lifts would not be allowed by the floating dock areas in that area because they're already in the water and are protected by the docks. Okay. The next thing is the drains and inspections. Larry did a great job of bringing on a retired drain person from the county, and his name was Andy. Andy went through and reviewed our drains and talked about some of the ways that we can improve the drain systems that we have. Andy has been willing to offer his advice free. He's a member here. He wants to see the longevity of the park. And once we found out that Ben and his team do an annual inspection and clean up the drains, Andy would be willing to come alongside Ben and make some suggestions that would be very cost effective with our own team to be able to address some of the drain issues that we saw there. There wasn't a lot because they're doing a great job, but there are some areas where we need to deepen the basin so stuff that goes in the drains stays in the drains and doesn't roll off in the lake. The carp contest, as everyone knows, we had a carp die off with some of the water and the rain. And I don't know about you guys, but it should have stunk on my beach, especially as they continue to decompose. But we're looking at in early spring, we've already talked to a carp group that is willing to come in and do a carp contest. And what we need to do is we're trying to get a vision because it causes bright lights and it's in the middle of the night. It's the best time they can come in and get those carp. It would be a little bit of pain to be able to get rid of this invasive species out of our lake, or not get rid of it, but at least limit what we're seeing and the dying off. So that is something that we'll get back to you with timeframes or exact dates and what that would look like. That would allow permission and for other boats that are not from Sandy Pines to come in for a period of 24 hours or so, or maybe 2 nights and have a contest. And it sounds like they put up their own money and then they, kind of like poker, they all put it in the pot and the best man wins. So if we can keep the costs down, we think it's a win-win to get rid of that invasive species out of our lake here. Lake enforcement, we are hoping to review the rules and expectations in the spring with all the PSOs to be able to get to some reinforcements of the rules and some clarification on some of the rules. That would definitely help. I'm going to run down 3 down to what we call the member packets, and we're hoping that the new software link will do this. But this year, in talking to the PSOs, we found a lot of people were saying, oh, I didn't know that you could go high speed after this hour. Oh, I didn't know you couldn't go past 35. Oh, I didn't know this. So one of the things we're hoping to do is get like the top 10 issues, and like we did with our golf carts with the license plates, have them sign something online that they do know it, that the PSOs can pull that up and say, hey, wait a minute, what do you mean you didn't know? You signed it right here that you knew this. So to reiterate those top ideas to keep our lake safer, especially after those hours when people are going high speed, kayakers and other people are trying to use it, and fishermen are trying to use it in a low setting, and they're still running over. So we want to try and do that. Back up to the dock removal rules. If we reviewed the park rules, and the park actually says they recommend removal of the docks because of the ice dam. If you look at this, this is the DEQ. I printed a sheet out for all of you guys. It's in the packets. And it does not say a permanent dock can stay in permanent. Seasonal docks and rafts are allowed. Once it becomes left in the water, it must, and it does require a DEQ permit, and they must go through all the permitting processes with Sandy Pines. So we're recommending that it goes from a recommended they come out to a mandatory removal, because we own the property. We would be the ones paying the fine if those were left in and we get fined by the DEQ for leaving them in. So this is just a note for you guys to know what the law is, and hopefully we can get that changed and maybe change that on a rave where it's a mandatory, where we pull those out instead of leaving those in. I, as a member, sure don't want to pay a fine for someone else leaving their docks and stuff and doing something illegal. Okay, and then, because we're going to jump over the packet rules, we already had, wells. Jeff made some hints on the wells. Andy made some comments. Again, that's our well guy, our water guy. And just to let everybody know, our lake going up and down is hurting our lake more than we know, because when the lake stays within about a 6-inch level, that lake and that edge gets hardened. It gets hardened by the waves from the boats. It gets hardened by the waves from the weather. When we allow that to go down, that's what starts that undercutting, because now we're going into softer quagmire. Andy fully recommended we do whatever we can to get that lake level to stay more constant. So these wells are more necessary than we even know, because not only is it going to make it a better lake for all of us to use year round, it's also going to reinforce our lake at the band that it needs to be reinforced at, which is going to cause less damage and less runoff going into the lake, or less erosion going into the lake. So we need to do whatever we can. And I believe the numbers, Jeff, you were close. I think the 4 pumps right now, which are much smaller, they're 6 and 8 inch pumps, are actually producing approximately 350,000 gallons a day, a 24-hour period, if they're all working. I do not believe there was one time this summer that all 4 were working at once. They're old, they're small, they're not doing their job, and we do lose over 1 million gallons in one day. The 2 new 12-inch pumps are 750,000 gallons. With all 4 of the other ones working and the new ones, we will now be able to keep up on our worst evaporation days, which will allow us to keep that lake at that 6-inch band as much as possible. We can always back them off. I'm of the belief that the new wells at 12-inch, when I looked at the report and saw what the increase of electrical is, I would like to see us upgrade eventually the other 4 wells, or maybe put those offline and use those 2 big ones, because it looks like the electrical cost could actually go down if we use the more efficient ones. So when we look at that, and if we can get those up and running, we're gonna have a much better lake in the long run if we can use much higher efficiency wells to keep our lake at that 6-inch band, which then will also eliminate the erosion, which will also eliminate the cycle we're going through where we're gonna have to dredge it back out. Okay, already talked, one of the things that also has been worked on, and Jeff has some of the numbers in the reports, is the riprap at the chapel. The Lake Committee is in huge agreement with the design that Jeff has been showing us, where they're using some of their own trees to come back in. We're making some natural fish and turtle habitat. We're increasing our fisheries for the people that want to fish. And then we're also showing up that line, and we're not making our lake shallower by continuing to have that wash off. So again, something very important that we go and we do that. The member packet rules we talked about. The boat ramp signage has already been approved, and that's just something that we need to get done over there. Put the sign up so that we have it, so that when boats are backed into the water, there's a much bigger, more noticeable sign that almost every other lake has at every one of their boat ramps, to let them know what the rules of this lake are. And again, the no wake hours, the speed hours, those types of things need to be addressed and then also enforced on. One of the things, and this is a kudos to Stephanie, was that there is a safety factor on our lake. Our lake is very small. We've been very blessed with having very little injuries, serious injuries on the lake. But there's a thing that many states are requiring, and we think that we should recommend it. And it's not only do you have a watcher in your boat, but you have a skier down flag. This is a $9.99 flag. It's not that expensive, but it would be something that when the watcher is seeing that the person is down, sorry, I'm nervous. They would wave this. As a boater, I see that bright orange. I already know somebody's in the water somewhere in that area. I better shape up. I might sit up on my seat and look a little closer. There's $50 ones that you can get that attach to the side of your boat. You can just push up. There's all kinds of them, but folks, all you need is a $9.99. And I don't doubt that we could possibly get some of the businesses to maybe put their black name in the middle of this and actually hand them out and do advertising with it. But we can get as creative as we want, but it's a safety feature that we think should be addressed in our rules, because I believe it's going to save the lives of the day. I think it's that important. There are states such as Arizona, California, Texas that now require that as law, that you must have those, that as soon as you have a skier down, that must go up, and it counts for skiers, tubers, wakeboarders, anybody. So that's just something Stephanie came up with that one. Kudos, Stephanie. That was a great deal. So I think that worked. Signage for the no wake and leaves. We did add a no wake back going into, I call it the finger lanes or phase 6. So going back into that area, we added a buoy later in the season than we should have, but we got it there. And then we're talking about possibly putting signs on both sides of that shoreline when people go back in there, that they know that that is a no wake. We've gotten some complaints back there that people are going at higher speeds than they should. There's a ton of kids back there swimming. There's a ton of people enjoying the rafts. And that's a really dangerous area that we need to slow those boats down and get them back down to a slower state. The other thing that we're looking at, and it's causing a lot of grief, as a matter of fact, one of our members has brought in a bunch of sludge from back in there, is the leaves. I don't know, but if you're like me and you're here this fall, you're going to see a lot of people taking the easy way out and blowing their leaves into our lake. Our leaves in our lake can barely keep up with Mother Nature, let alone us human beings. So we want to get approved these signs, and we want to put these signs on the main road, so as people are driving around, they can see them. We want to police ourselves and say, hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. It's not good for our lake. And then we also want to put them around the areas where we see that people are just blowing their leaves in the lake, because it's a whole lot easier than hauling them. But that sludge over there in that area and the depth of your water, I believe, is because of a lot of people throwing debris, as well as the trees themselves. The trees don't know any better. They can't read the signs.
It's also important to have a contractor clear your leaves, that you're communicating with them, that we do not go into the lake.
Yeah, I did see one contractor take the easy way out and blow them right into the lake when he was over there getting paid by the consumer to get rid of their leaves. He got rid of them, but he put them in our lake. I won't say his name. Okay, we're also hoping to research and to put Rabbit River Research. We're hoping to be able to partner with MSU or somebody else and get a liaison to possibly look at our lake and maybe even talk to some of the farmers around the area. As you all know from the 2019 report, we have 10 times the water runoff of any lake this size. And a lot of that debris and a lot of those chemicals going into the lake are directly coming from those farmers. So once we get the spring report, if we could get a liaison from Michigan State or something, or an intern possibly, to work with us, we might be able to get something at low or no cost where we can take advantage of some type of research to be able to improve our water quality that way. The PSO presence, again, this is something that is increased dramatically.
Thank you.
That has increased dramatically, and this year they had a lot more PSOs on the water and a lot more enforcement, or at least just being out there slows people down. I saw her, that one was a her, I saw her come from around the island, and a person that was kind of flying backed right off once he saw her. That tells me he knew the rule, he just didn't think anyone was there to enforce it. I personally want to get an air horn and sit on my dock. I would be yelled at. The no wait time rule change, that has taken place. Again, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm only going 10. It's not 10, it's no wake. No wake is no wake. That means your boat going by should not be rocking other boats on the dock. Retiring the double stakes, that was something that was accomplished. Again, we have too many boats. We feel from some of the studies and some of the looking at things on the lake, retiring some of these double stakes is definitely going to reduce that. The buoys, that I think was a big win that we got accomplished this year. We got those lighted buoys in. I know there were some people a lot for them and some a lot against them. I think once they were in the routes, I know some of the boaters that I talked to said, now I know exactly how close to the shore I can go. That actually helps me. Some people said, I never went that close, so now I think I have a bigger lake. So I think those buoys really help. But the main reason for those buoys was to keep the swimmers, the kayakers, and the paddleboarders safe inside of a certain area. And I think it did a great job. It did such a great job. We had 2 of them that were hit. I don't know who can hit a 20-inch round buoy. If they could hit that in a yellow buoy in the middle of the day, I don't know what they would do to a swimmer, but they hit the buoys. One was completely sunk, and Stephanie got a phone call or an email. When are you putting my buoys back? Now that it's gone, boats are coming really close to my shore again. So we know they work, right? So again, the ballast ban is going to be looked at when we have more professional data. I will say that the data this year, from what they did, I went back and reviewed because they had every day of when they were out on the water. They looked at skiing, they looked at just a runabout boat, they looked at surfing, they looked at wakeboarding. They looked at every level, and the study is not only on the waves, the study is also how it scoured the bottom of the lake and at what depth they scoured the bottom of the lake. Scouring of the bottom of the lake, not just the waves and the erosion and the damage, will put that sediment up on the shore and will completely stunt our fishery and will cover the fish at the 18-inch to 3 foot where the eggs are. And if they don't get enough oxygen, they will not hatch and they will eventually die off. So it's that sediment, which is the whole reason we need a quiet hour on our lake, and we need to enforce that no wait time. Our lake needs to settle down where the sediments can settle and not continue to be churned up. And so anytime a boat continues to go around after hours or before hours, they continue that sediment, and that starts that process all over again. Our lake needs a rest time, and that's what we're looking for out of that. And then the biggest thing, Stephanie's been able to put a lot of things into the footprints, into the corner. And I think she's got one coming up that's gonna talk about leaves. And that's gonna be a big win too. So I don't know if I'm supposed to ask her questions, but does anybody have any questions on anything? Okay, I think it was a productive year. Thank you again for allowing us to do this work. My agenda is that this lady, my grandchildren. Good business. My grandchildren are learning to ski right where I learned to ski when I was 12. This is an amazing place. My agenda is that it's here 20 to 30 years from now, so my grandchildren's children can do the same thing and learn how to ski on this lake. It really means a lot. I've been raised here. My wife and I met here. This place means so much to me. Again, my agenda on this lake committee is that this lake is still here for my children and my grandchildren to use. Thank you for the time.
Thank
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for the presentation, but also thank you for all your hard work, along with all the other members of the Lake Committee that put in all this time on their own. Our next order of business is an item of old business. It's a rule that we discussed at the last meeting, and what our procedure is. We talk about rule changes. 30 days later, we vote on it. This rule it's resolution number 8202021B, resolution to amend rule book handbook. Whereas the bylaws of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated, Article 8, Section 6E gives the Board of Directors the power to adopt, amend, rescind, and repeal rules and regulations relating to the use of Sandy Pines property and the conduct of its members and their guests. Whereas Rule Section 13, Watercraft Regulations, subsection B, length permitted, B, length permitted. Number 1, watercraft may not exceed 20 foot in length with the exception of a pontoon boat that may be 24 feet in length. Number 2, the length indicated on the state registration form will determine length and classification. Whereas the Board of Directors for the Health, Safety, and Welfare of Sandy Pines believes that it is in the best interest of Sandy Pines to amend and clarify the rules and regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following amendments and additions to the rules and regulations relating to Rule Section 13, Watercraft, subsection B, length permitted, currently located on page 28 of the Sandy Pines Handbook. Rule Section 13, Watercraft Regulations, subsection B, length permitted. 1, watercraft may not exceed 20 feet in length with the exception of a pontoon boat that may be 24 feet in length. Number 2, the length of a watercraft is determined by the distance measured in a straight line from the tip of the bow to the end of the stern. A pontoon boat's length is measured by the length of the deck fore to aft. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trail does hereby approve the above resolution. Do we have any questions from the board on this proposed rule change? I'll entertain a motion to approve this rule change.
So moved.
A second.
All those in favor of the rule change, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Oh, roll call.
Opposed, same sign.
Ellen, you want to do a roll call?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Kelly Johnson.
Yes.
Sorry, let's do that again. Kelly Johnson.
Yes.
Dennis King.
Yes.
Larry Munger.
Yes.
Paul Capel.
Yes.
Stephanie Catania. Yes. Scott Wyman.
Yes.
Ellen Hooker.
Yes.
Jenny Hager.
Yes.
Jim Power.
Yes.
The next item under new business is a proposed rule change, just adding some language in about cell phones and texting. Our rules currently talk about careless driving, And what we wanted to do was just add a little extra in there that defines that cell phones and texting are careless driving. It's not an additional rule, it's just enhancing. And we took the language right from the state of Michigan's distracted driving law. Resolution number 092421A, resolution to amend rulebook handbook. Whereas the bylaws of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated, Article 8, Section 6E gives the Board of Directors the power to adopt, amend, rescind, and repeal rules and regulations relating to the use of Sandy Pines property and the conduct of its members and their guests, whereas Rule Section 12, Vehicle and Traffic Regulations, subsection A, general rules for autos, golf carts, mopeds, motorcycles, watercraft, snowmobiles, and scooters. 2, be driven in a safe manner. Modes of transportation may not be driven in a careless or reckless manner. Whereas the Board of Directors for the health, safety, and welfare of Sandy Pines believes it is in the best interest of Sandy Pines to amend and clarify the rules and regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Sandy Pines Wilderness Trails Incorporated does hereby approve the following amendments and additions to the rules and regulations relating to the rules of Section 12, Vehicle and Traffic Regulations, subsection A, general rules for autos, golf carts, mopeds, motorcycles, watercraft, snowmobiles, and scooters currently located on page 24 of the Sandy Pines Rules, Regulations, and Bylaws book. Rules Section 12, Vehicle and Traffic Regulations, subsection A, general rules for autos, golf carts, mopeds, motorcycles, watercraft, snowmobiles, and scooters. 2, be driven in a safe manner. Modes of transportation may not be driven in a careless or reckless manner, including but not limited to reading, typing, or sending text messages or use of a handheld wireless telephone, iPads, or other electronic devices for calls or internet application. We are not going to vote on it today. We're introducing this language change. If you have any questions or comments, please email the Board of Directors and we'll take that into consideration and we'll vote on this at our next meeting. And Jeff, do you want to talk about the change in the name of the handbook?
Yes, thank you. So again, we've had some feedback, always appreciate input from the members. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from new members in the park, when we use the example that Jim Buchanan say, hey, I didn't know that, and we're getting a lot of new members. We hand them a handbook. We go through during the closing, the handbook is kind of our rules. The handbook, a lot of people think is, all right, how do you do things around here? What do you use the North Shore building for? What do you use the dairy pit for? What do you use Phase 1 pavilion for? So to be, I guess, real crystal clear, and what that book is when we're starting to hand it out, we're gonna move from using it, they're calling it handbook. It's going to be rules, regulations, and bylaws of Sandy Pines. Just be very crystal clear to the point. These are the rules, the regulations, and the bylaws. You need to understand what's in this book. And we've gotten some feedback that, that's a good idea. We should do that. So our process is when we go through these resolutions, there's dates on these resolutions. The voting ones, we updated the rules and regulations in June. The ones that we voted on recently in August and tonight, those generally get updated in the off season. So in October, when you see the updates online, the handbook is going to be changed to rules, regulations, and bylaws of Sandy Pines. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ellen.
Okay, Jeff, do you have the write-in questions?
I do. Somewhere. Too much. Okay, question number one. Could the speed limit be monitored after Labor Day? Also, over by the store, car wash, all summer people fly around that corner to and from the stop sign. Several of us have called about the speeders throughout the summer to report the speeding. Maybe we could get larger speed bumps installed around the park. I'm sure you see on cameras, but why are we not doing anything about it? Safety is a major factor here. So during the off season, we are taking a look. We've got some other additional areas, blind spots throughout the park. Anybody going up the hill and around the corner by Dairy Dip and then down, that's a blind spot. So we'll add this to the list for the off season and see what we can do to try and make it safer in these areas and try to come up with some resolutions. So thank you for the question. Question in regards to the cart bridge. Could a signed waiver by all members and campers be an alternative to building a bridge? How is the park not susceptible to a lawsuit if an accident occurs crossing the road from the clubhouse to number 1 tee box? So again, good question. Thank you. One of the things that we have gotten feedback on when we first started doing this in 2018, I was part of the review in 2019. Again, 26th Avenue was highlighted as increased speed, increased volume traffic, increased commercial traffic. Going through the curves, through down by the golf course. Yep, there's some challenging areas there. It has not been highlighted as a hazardous area. The example of, well, why are you not putting a bridge between administration and Monterey Pines store? That's not part of our park. Members will make that choice to go across that street to a non-park event. What we're doing in phase 3 is if they want to come over and they want to go to a board meeting, they want to go to the park, we're forcing people to come from phase 3 over into the main part of the park. That's a hazardous area. The park is telling them if you want to come to these events, it's part of the park. You need to get across the street. That is the difference, and that's why it was highlighted as a hazard. So thank you for that question. This is from a member who also is a neighbor of the park. Being that we will have the bridge outside our windows of our home, we are interested in the design of the bridge. Hopefully, I think I see Steve right there. Hopefully, the pictures have highlighted, what that design looks like, and how high it is going to be. Will there be? We're asking to keep our privacy as much as possible. Will there be sidewalls? There will be sidewalls. They're not going to be enclosed sidewalls. We still have to see through that fence and those railings to see those carts coming back and forth. We highlighted there are going to be some lights there. There are going to be cameras there. No intentions of pointing those cameras into private homes, things of that nature. We were shocked why all of a sudden go on the bridge and we knew nothing about it because we just didn't go to the meetings. So we relied on footprints and rumors. I think Ellen highlighted that, we need to make certain that we're following the main communications. This has been in the footprints for over a year in the communication. We thoroughly researched the process with the county offices and have learned so much about it. Now we just have questions and concerns on what it will look like out of our windows that affects us 365 days a year. We love Sandy Pines and we've been members for 23 years and want what is best for the park. We thought we would have an indoor pool back by now, and this bridge set us back as we find it unnecessary to fix what isn't broken for $1.2 million of the members' money. Please answer the questions. Hopefully I've answered through the presentation and some of the stuff that we've talked about. Again, if we have additional questions, Steve, I know you can come in and see me. I have no issues having a sit down and showing the stuff that we've done. So thank you for the question. This one, I'm not necessarily understanding what the question is, so I can follow up with. And generally what I do is I'll take these questions, I'll email back the answers as well to the members. Well, if this member is here, I can have a question, discussion with her if she's here. If not, I'll email her. What if the person doesn't have access to a computer phone to do this? Can they fill something out when they get there? Also about the comment at the end of the meeting, asking for a neighbor. So I'm assuming the process is submit a question online to the board, and then it shows up on this printout. And then again, I print these out in the morning, and then I start going through the answers. So if you submitted something late morning, early afternoon, it might not have gotten to the this section. I will pull these out and I do email back. So. Thinking it would be super to have these on CC doors that exit by pulling open. So they try to dump a picture in here. You can't really dump a picture, but if anybody's been into a restaurant or any other public place, what this individual is referring to are those foot poles at the bottom of the door where you can use your foot to pull open the door. Thought that we could put those into the CC areas. We'll talk to maintenance and see what we can and can't do there. So thank you for the, and they have provided some pricing. So thank you for that as well. We'll take a look at it. I'll also comment about mail. So question is, do we have a sign at admin building telling the street and location for the mailroom? Because packages seem to be not being delivered in a timely manner. Yes, yes, and yes. We have that sign posted all over at admin. We have it on the door. We have it at the counter. We talk to Amazon and UPS on a regular basis. Do not deliver your mail at the admin. It's got to go to that mail center. So we're gonna try and think of something better to do in the off season on that, but it is posted out there and we're just as frustrated as you are. So thank you. I'd like to address the board with concerns regarding boat stakes and future plans for assessing fees for the lake care. All persons of Sandy Pines enjoy the lake, not just boat owners. If boat stake prices are an interest of the board, then considerations should address boat motor horsepower and set a price in level ranges similar to DOT Valrum fees for a car. That way all boats will be stickered accordingly to size and horsepower. So what this is referring to is when you get your registration in the mail, and depending on your car, you're assessed a registration fee by the state of Michigan based on weight of the vehicle, kind of vehicle, horsepower, things of that nature. So not a bad idea. It's a new way of thinking of it. So we'll take that into consideration, and we'll turn over to the Lake Study Committee and see if it's something that we want to entertain. So thank you. Will the new golf cart bridge connecting phase 3 provide 2 lanes for golf carts and bicycles? So I think we answered that. Yes, there will be 2 lanes. And 2 raised sidewalk footpaths for pedestrians crossing so the golf carts don't hit them. There will not be a raised sidewalk for pedestrians. Right now, the thought process as we go through this is, we'll have a stripe area for coming and going that separates the cart, and then maybe a solid line for a walking area. But there's not going to be a raised separate sidewalk on that bridge for pedestrian traffic. And will the structure be enclosed? So again, no, I think we addressed that as well. We're going to have kind of a chain link fence curtain that goes about 8 to 10 feet high. Do you have plans to add a couple more pickleball courts in the near future? Wow, haven't seen that one before. So again, we are during the off season, we go through the entire capital list, we go through the projects, and we try to put as much try to complete as much as possible. We have talked about pickleball courts. I don't have an answer for you, so thank you. Is there a policy on exterior lights on units in garages or sheds? I didn't see one in the handbook. Concerned with members having intrusive exterior lights installed that cause serious light intrusion and light pollution. Lights that cast bright lighting into neighboring park models and around campsites, campfires can be offensive. Going forward, we'd like to see a policy that can help those members who do not wish to have lights shined that hurt their eyes and cause sleeplessness to be part of their experience at Sandy Pines. Thanks for reading and hope to discuss this in the future. So no, we don't have an intrusive light policy or anything in the handbook. My recommendation for this would be, we can submit that to the rules committee and see if it's something that they want to add to their list as well. Regarding the bridge, we keep hearing about what other less expensive options have been explored. For example, changing location of the street crossing to go directly across. How about a stop sign at the cross section? What about a push button activating crosswalk with a stoplight? Seems like a lot better option than $1.5 million. And what kind of winter maintenance would this bridge bring? So I think we talked about some of the options that we investigated with the county. During the winter, the bridge will be closed. So there's not going to be access on that bridge during the winter. And, we're going to leave that up to maintenance as to when we officially close that. But during the winter, that bridge will be closed. I'm waiting for information as to why the building by the beach in phase 1 can't be used for adult center only activities. I would love to see the shuffleboard set back up, the indoor shuffleboard. We were completely misled about the North Shore building, and I will not vote for the golf cart bridge. So the North Shore building is supposed to be the adult activity center. A lot of the adult activities, minus the shuffleboard, has moved here. We have euchre, we have dancing, we have a lot of those adult activities have moved from the phase 1 building here. Quite honestly, that shuffleboard table, I haven't put my eyes on it, but I've been told it's in pretty rough shape. So I don't know if it's usable, but we are evaluating what to do with phase 1 pavilion. Honestly, that wasn't rented out this season. There was very little to no activity in that building. Tot Center was used periodically. We used it for Family Fun Day. Other than that, all of that activity has moved to this building. And, furthermore, we've had some challenges with this building. We left it open, and we have numerous examples and instances where kids were left unattended and, damage to furniture, kids getting hurt. So we have basically shut this down for adults only. If children under 18 are in this building, they need to be accompanied by an adult. We do have cameras in here, and, some of the members have been hit with either fines or violations or calls with, you cannot leave your kids here. So this is the adult activity center. And then we're evaluating phase 1. And I think we're getting down to the end here. Is there any chance our CC showers can be fitted with more hooks? Also, our CCs in phase 2 have strings. Most are broken. Can we replace strings with straps? That's in the maintenance list as well, but that seems like a no-brainer to me. If it's broke, we're going to go around and try and fix it. So, is there a committee looking at putting an indoor pool or at least another pool in the park? Yes. The pool committee was active again this year. We've had a construction company come through and take a look at. They've got aquatic pool experience where we could put some, expand our aquatics, whether it's pools, splash pads, things of that nature. So we are investigating that. We know it's a need based on the capacity of the water park. So, the answer is yes, and we got a committee that's actively looking at that to try and figure out a resolution for that need. Our bridge question we answered. Does the board have an RFP process for new service providers? So I'll reach back out to this member. Is it actual contractors that we allow to come into the park to do contract work? Or is it like a company that built this building that is sourced by Sandy Pines? Need a little more clarification on that. Last two here. Should the advisory committees be proactive or reactive? Should they actively seek to make recommendations to the board within their sphere of responsibility, or should they only investigate and respond to direct requests from the board? I've seen my response to that is we want to get ahead of stuff, so we want to be proactive. And I've seen that on many of the committees, but I've also seen where a committee has been established and with a list of stuff that has been brought by the board constituents to say, hey, is anybody working on this? So it's really kind of both. We want to be proactive as much as possible, but there are things out there that members bring to the board members, myself, on a regular basis. And you know what? We aren't aware of that. That's great. We'll put it with the committee and we'll try and get some resolution. So answer is yes, proactive, and at times we're going to have to be reactive as well. And with the new software implemented this fall, include any improvements that directly benefit the members. That's the hope, and that's kind of the goal, is to make the staff more efficient and help with member benefits as well, whether it's data that you guys need, or anything of that nature. So the answer is yes. That's the plan, and that's the goal. And that's it. Lots of good questions.
At this time, we'll take comments from the audience, and what I'm going to ask you to do, come up and use this microphone. Don't interrupt each other. If you have something you want to say, come up here, be courteous. And whenever anybody wants to come on up, come on up.
Wonderful. So many things I want to say. First of all, I want to ask a question. The approach to the bridge is, what is that surface?
What is that?
The approach is up and down.
Oh, okay. So originally, when we had that approach drafted, it was at a 12% grade.
I'm sorry. That's not what I mean. What is the surface made out of?
So it's going to be right now. Yeah, right now it's going to be gravel, and then we're talking about putting some millings over it. And then if we put asphalt on it, it's going to be Sandy Pines will put asphalt on it as we approach up to the concrete.
I'm talking actually the ramps. You said it was going to be cement on top of the bridge. Now I'm talking the ramps to come up. What is that surface going to be?
So the abutments?
No, the ramp.
The ramp.
Coming up to the top of the
ramp we
bridge.
drive up.
Yeah, that's going to be, yeah. So as you're coming up, that's going to be gravel. The concrete, the wings that you saw on that, the wings are going to be concrete.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, and then the bridge is going to go on that. The approach over that bridge up the ramp and onto the concrete base, that is going to be right now gravel with millings on top of that.
I have first of all, Alan, let me say to you, the very first time I met you, you were putting books down the library, and I was rather rude because you told me about that we had signed away our rights to use the building to FEMA. So my apologies for that. Now that is an issue, but that's for somebody else. I have a couple of rhetorical questions. One is, are you crazy? A bridge? Do you realize the liability you're opening yourself up to? How about a molten golf cart dripping down onto the road from the bridge? We had a golf cart over by the tennis court, burned right down to the rims. It was gone. What about kids flying going across the street, throwing cans or rocks up and over it? What about, yeah, this little yellow line for a pedestrian lane is not gonna work at all. Golf carts are gonna be all over the place. What about two golf carts trying to pass, carrying their 5-6 foot wide little floaties that they take out of the lake and they'll hold them up as they're driving over there? Two of them passing, maybe somebody with a cart behind that's pulling all kinds of greenery and crap that they cut out of their lot because they need to take it over to the dump. This is appalling. Also appalling. 3 people with genuine and viable concerns about who had to pay to keep the lake up who just outvoted. So only the people that have boats and stakes are paying for whatever we do to keep the lake up. I feel great. I don't pay a dime. I don't have a boat stake. I don't have boat. The bridge is a bad idea, a terrible idea. In 50 years, there hasn't been a single fatality over there. Every time I go over to phase 3, and by the way, I go on golf carts right all the time. That's my thing, sitting at home, watching TV is boring, and I'm always over in phase 3. 80% of the time that I have approached that crossing, I look both ways and there's nothing going on. I have seen semis go through there 5-6 times. And again, has there ever been a fatality crossing?
All I'm gonna say to that is we don't want one.
No, of course we don't. But the bridge is going to present you with a lot more liabilities. And listen, your liability is gone as soon as somebody sees that sign that says carts are not allowed on the road,
Okay.
travel at your own risk.
Okay, we're not gonna debate. We're gonna agree to disagree. Okay, that's all I can say. I'm not gonna argue with you. We're
Yeah,
not
so
gonna
we
do-
just have no vote in this at all.
Correct.
Okay.
You voted for us. We're trying to do the right thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, not like being dismissed.
Not sure I want to follow that.
It has to be done.
Get close to the mic.
Get close to the microphone so we can all hear you.
Okay, I just have a comment, kind of question, comment. Anyway, you say that we need more pumps for the water, correct? To keep the water level up.
Yeah. that was
And
fine.
basically, you want people with boats, boat stakes, kayaks, things of that nature to kind of pay for that. I don't feel that's fair. I have to agree with Paul. My reasoning is I don't go to phase 3, but I'm gonna help pay for that bridge, correct? Right? And so I think that if we're all in that together, we should all be in the lake together as well. We should all pay for that if we're all paying for a bridge.
Microphone, please.
I think that if we're all paying for the bridge, we should all pay for the lake. We should all pay.
We're in this together, correct? We should be. It's our part. If one person is gonna pay, we should all pay. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
One of the things that we did discuss before, and it's clear as mud to a lot of people. There's operation money and there's capital money. There is currently, last month, we, approved the capital budget. In that capital budget was an amount to pay for those wells and to pay for some of these things that Jim presented that are capital items. So yes, the entire park is paying for those capital items. The fees go towards operating. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, the larger dollar amount for capital items are being paid by the entire membership.
That makes sense. It does, but I still stand with my comment that if, you know,
Yes, and I totally
we
understand.
should all pay. We should all pay, because we're all using the lake. We should all pay equally. We pay our dues equally, correctly? Is that correct? Whether we're on the lake or we're not on the lake, we all pay the same amount in dues. So I feel we should all pay the same amount. Probably.
We're going to continue to work on that too.
Yeah, thank you.
I agree. We don't use the water park.
Microphone, so we can, sorry, everybody, the audience needs to hear you. That's what it is. Yeah.
We don't use the water park, but I definitely would never want to not have that water park. That's a huge asset for Sandy Pines. And the lake, in my estimation, is the same thing. Whether I use the lake or not use the lake, I should be paying towards the lake. So don't make the boaters or kayakers pay this whole bill to keep this lake. That should be an expense across the board for all of us. And I think the golf course has been in this over the years too. We've all spent money to take care of the golf course. Never golfed a day in my life. I back that 100% because as a park, that's a huge asset that whether I use it or not, maybe my kids will, my grandkids will, and my neighbor will, we're in it together. I agree with the lady who said that same thing. We're in it together. If we start singling out groups to pay for certain things, I think that's a scary road to go down.
Ellen, can I address?
Sure.
Okay, when we brought this, it was also at the beginning of the meeting, or at the beginning of that issue, it was also, we also said, or Ellen said, that we are looking to do something to adjust things. The problem is we needed to do something right now. And the only way we could get the money right now was through fees because of the way we're structured. So it is the hope that we can redo something so that, yes, it comes across the board. My personal thought is we need a dues increase and maybe get rid of some of the assessments and make it just dues and quit worrying about assessments because our dues only cover 40% of our operating costs and everything else has to come from assessments and fees. And that's the problem. So we are looking at doing something for that. This wasn't an easy decision. We spent a lot of time wrestling with this. And I just want people to try and understand that this was not something we totally wanted to do. And yes, I have to pay for it too.
I guess I got two things. Sorry, I lost my voice. You have stated that created these fees to cover the cost of the pumps. Jimmy just came back and said that this is in the capital fund. So I'm guessing which one is it? Secondly, if this is not something you want to do, then why don't we hold off on doing this? You were able to save 1.2 million for a bridge. Why aren't we able to push this off for another year and come up with a solution? Instead of penalizing just a small portion of the membership.
Okay, you're looking at me, so I guess I'll answer. Two things. One, I think it's close to 70% of the members have boats or stakes. So it's not the small majority, it's the big majority. And what was your other question? I'm sorry. On the pumps and that? Yeah. If you push this off another year, then we're going to have problems keeping the lake level up again because we can't put them in if we can't afford to run them. And that's the problem. Our electric bills are astronomical. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It doesn't sound like they should be, but when you sit down and look at the figures, they're there. So we have to have the money to run that. You can't just, yeah, we're able to save $1.2 million for one thing, but that's out of capital. This is not capital expense.
Your pumps would be part of your capital expense.
The pumps, we have to pay to run all these pumps.
Jenny can explain that a little better.
The fee that John was talking about is to help pay for the electricity. The electricity,
That is not what he has stated.
okay,
So he said to raise money to purchase 2 new pumps. He thought long and hard, and this is what we're gonna do.
well, part of it was 2 new pumps, more electricity, whereas we're not even covering the electricity on the ones we have now.
But
Maybe
the guy said that 2 new pumps would actually save you money by running pumps. So your electric cost would actually go down.
that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah,
And
it's not guaranteed.
we did some 5-year trend. We just ran some numbers on that to try to get some thoughts on what would these cost. But when we're talking about fees that cover operations, which includes electricity, but not the purchase of the pumps.
Yeah, the purchase of the pumps is coming from the capital reserve fund.
All right, I have a couple kayaks.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I went out twice this year in them. I have 2 kayaks. I'm not gonna pay $70. I mean, that's a little absurd. You can't assume everybody just uses this stuff all year long, and, I mean, that's gonna make me consider going, forget it, I guess I won't kayak. So I think I would propose that it be spread out and not targeted like that. I think people like me are gonna make those kind of decisions. And you might be able, or get less for it. I also think this is from the golf cart bridge is from the capital fund, correct?
Correct.
Which we voted on to allow this cart launch, whatever decisions you guys want to make, and we have to trust in that, but I just want to say, it's a big deal, it's a lot of money, it should have been voted on. Even though you can do it, I don't think you should have done it. And there's the difference, you can do it. I'm kind of wondering what's in the works around the corner now that we don't know about. First time I ever heard about the golf cart bridge was last.
It's not a golf cart bridge. It's not for the golf course, so it's not golf cart bridge. Okay, you're right.
Okay.
It's getting late. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
And anyway, I just think it should have been voted on. We had a vote in August. There's very little on it, nothing on, I didn't even bother voting, to be honest with you. I think there are 3 members and they're all gonna make it, so I didn't even vote, but I just think we have opportunities to reach out and get the pulse of the people, even though there's, 11 people making all these decisions. I think we should have been taken more into account. And I'd even say about this building, I think the same thing. And I wonder what else is around the corner. I do thank you for your time and your considerations of all this stuff, but just keep that in mind. I think we should be taking into. I just don't agree with it either. I'm wondering what's to stop people from being hit going to the grocery store or going to the model trailers. I mean, we're all crossing streets.
It's not part of our park. It's not part of our park.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
For liability, it does.
Okay, I'm just saying there's a lot of traffic going to that grocery store because I see it all the time. So, a couple other quick points. Am I allowed to comment on stuff that we didn't talk about tonight or what? Just really briefly, I'll be brief. The ranger station, I think it should be opened up. I think put some plexiglass in there. Maybe say if somebody's inside, don't go in, wait outside. There's been so many times these appointments. We could have been accommodated a little bit better this year for, just dropping in on things. So that's one thing that kind of angered me this year. And I would propose longer pool hours on a Sunday because it'll be a beautiful night in the middle of the summer, 6 o'clock, the pool closes. People are staying out there all summer. I can't think that's reasonable. So, anyway.
Can I make a suggestion to you? You have some good ideas. Get on a committee. That's where you you can make.
I need to be a
have-
little more vocal, just making.
Please do, but join a committee. Come to meetings, voice your opinion, join a committee. We want to hear from people like you, seriously.
Gotcha. Closer to the mic. Alrighty, how's that?
Better.
Bring it up.
Question about the lake, I'm kind of surprised you didn't say anything about the ramp. I sold my boat because I had to drive my SUV clear into the lake to launch it. But there was nothing said about steepening the ramp, or was there?
There's not been anything about that because no reports have come in that anyone, I put in 2 different boats and I've never had a problem.
But you gotta pick up. And you see a lot of people get their stuff out with what? A tractor.
Oh, yeah, when they hire the guy across the street.
Yeah, but why?
Free service. Because they don't have anything to haul it and they store it over by him. So he hauls it over and puts it in for them.
The ramp is something that we should probably look into. That's a great suggestion.
Great idea.
We just don't have we only meet once a week and, you know, it's on our list of, yeah.
It's very
But the
long.
ramp is definitely something.
And the other thing is, as the water goes up and down, that changes. And when the water's fully up, that ramp is a lot easier. I don't have to go in. Right now, I do have to go in. I had to go in all the way up to my rear doors. So you're right.
The other thing, I want to be sure I heard it right. The lake's probably filled in 3 or 4 feet, you think?
In some areas, yes, not in all areas. Obviously, it's not filled in out by the shore because it's still got a shore. So that's not filled in at all. But out in the middle, yes, there's some areas that are probably 3 feet deep.
And you said that there's like 1 foot.
On the whole lake, and you won't do that on the shore. Yeah,
It would cost how much?
yeah. 1 foot for the whole lake, which you will not have to do. That could be 5 million. The lake is our best asset and it is going to cost money, what we're trying to make a point of. And again, not bashing on the boats because I have one. But the boats are what are washing some of that in. I don't think many swimmers are washing any of the sand in. Does anyone agree with that? But I'm thinking maybe the boats might be washing it in. I don't think any of the swimmers crack that concrete by the dam. Absolutely.
I don't know, Jim, let's see if you do a cannonball.
Okay.
Can I suggest that maybe you go to a lake committee meeting and listen in or sit in?
Well, we're done.
Jim,
We're
done for the season, but give Jim your contact or Stephanie your contact information and we'd really like you.
Yeah. Yeah, ramp tag.
Yeah.
Okay, one final thing, but, so, would we get to vote on the $5 million bridge?
I would say more than likely knowing how much that is and what's in the capital reserve and how that works, yes.
This, I thought this golf cart bridge, and it is a golf cart bridge, but.
Yeah.
Whether it's a straw golf cart, I really think that's a waste of the money that was entrusted to you all. And I know a lot of people agree with me.
I don't think they do.
Well, apparently not, they approved it.
No, they made the decision. They don't agree with you and they won't listen to their politicians.
That's my.
Oh, God.
They're not getting paid, they don't get any power other than to spend their money, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gonna say something. Be nice.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said politicians. Thanks. That's a bad word. So, I'm not for the bridge. I want to make that perfectly clear. And when we say, we're not for the bridge, I see a lot of smiles across the front here saying, you're getting one anyway. But my question is, the concrete bridge the slab going all the way across. Have we thought about the metal grate rather than the concrete? Because when it rains, it's gonna be very slippery on the bridge. Which could cause a few accidents because we don't have a whole lot of room to pass.
We have two options, concrete or wood, and the recommendation was concrete for the life of the bridge and the lower maintenance.
So concrete's gonna last longer. We're definitely gonna have some kind of maintenance annually on that bridge.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So, but it seems like there's a lot of people that are not for the bridge. Is anybody here listening?
We are listening. Again, this is not an easy decision. We are listening.
Okay. One other thing is, I put in something in an email to the board members. It must have been through Facebook or something because it didn't get mentioned. That is, I live on the circle. I just found out, I've been there for a long time. I just found out that it is public parking or overflow parking on the circle. And I asked to address that we don't have overflow parking if you live on a circle. I mean, that's like, and I didn't realize that until somebody came over there and parked their car there and walked away. And I went and talked to them and I said, hey, this is our circle here. He said, it's overflow parking. So I went to I couldn't say the yard check anymore, but that ASL or the police department over there. And they verified to me that is overflow parking. Now, why do I get to have overflow parking? Because I live on a circle, and on the weekends, we can hardly breathe with that many cars coming into just from the people on the circle. So we don't have any room in a lot of cases for people that want to come, our company want to come, there's no place to park. So, and I asked for it to be addressed, maybe reevaluated.
Yeah, so Dave, you also came into my office and asked me the same thing.
Right.
And I responded to your email.
Yeah, and our responses were, yep, we'll take a look at it. We did clarify that it is overflow parking, and it's in the rules and the regulations and the bylaw handbook. Well, and if we move that, because there's also your circle and 6 to 7 other circles that have overflow parking, that parking's gotta go somewhere. So we can take a look at it, like we stated when you're in my office, we'll look at it during the off season. That's when we generate everything that we want to try to get done before the next season. But if we move it from your circle, then the other 6 or 7 circles are gonna say, we want ours moved too. And we've got to find spots for that overflow parking, and we don't have a lot of spots for that. So we're gonna evaluate it, we'll take a look at it, and we'll see what we can do.
My circle is that way also.
Right, and I don't want to park my car across the street from your house. Okay? But it must be that it's overflow parking too. If there's nothing else over there, I can park my car there, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think that we need overflow parking because we're in the circle, and I never realized that we're open to the public. So I would really like to have that on all circles, not just one. You know, all of the people that are on the circle.
I think there's a lot of confusion about the bridge. I know I'm going to use Stephanie, thank you for your input. But if that's the case, that, the insurance company and the legal team made it basically mandatory to rebuild the bridge, why isn't that just put out? Well, why are we, you know, I don't understand. If I had known that, I wouldn't have done all I could do. I think this is a learning lesson for everybody in the county. Just because you own a nice piece of property doesn't mean your neighbor can't do whatever he wants. I'm just glad you're not pig farmers, because I couldn't stop that either. But anyways, it was my own ignorance. I thought that it was dead because of the $1.2 million, $2 million. I talked to Salem Township, they said 1.3 and had nothing to do with it, which I was very confused about because I live in Salem Township. I can't put a shed in my yard without them knowing it. Very confusing. The other part went Monterey County, same thing. Can't do anything about it, do nothing about it. But if I put a shed in my yard, they're gonna reassess my values and jack my property tax up. If this is the case, I think what I'm asking for is more transparency. You said they spent thousands of dollars on road, I mean.
Surveys.
Surveys on the traffic. Because you're saying 65, 70 miles an hour on that road.
Yeah.
It's designated non-commercial, so it's not commercial thoroughfare, it's pickup and delivery. Speed limit is 55, just like every street around the park. As far as talking to the people, I've talked to all of my neighbors. Nobody's been asked anything about the all-night screeching, this, that, and the other. I am the closest. I have gel-in windows. They're not that good. I have heard lots of burnouts, lots of, but I think a lot of that's mostly because of the gravel. And I can hear them rev up their motors. I have not heard the skidding. I understand the accident that involved a staff member was a lifeguard sitting in the middle of Turtle Drive on his moped with the kickstand down. And a lady came in and got horned, backed up and hit him. And there's a police report. Is that not true? I don't understand, because we're using that as the reason for this bridge, so which I'm confused. But I know if he's a staff member, he's part of Pines. I just think a little more transparency, things like that we've been doing surveys on the traffic. We have it, things like that. And the main thing, the insurance company and your law firm telling you we have to do this. Well, then it's kind of a no-brainer. I was feeling bad because I was thinking I was being selfish. And I was like, and Sandy and I talked about it most nights, like, why are we even trying to stop this? It's not fair. But I was looking at it like my privacy, which is kind of hard to tell whether there's privacy walls on it or if it's just chain link fence.
There's no privacy walls, I think.
No privacy walls. So I'm going to hear people. She's out there doing it.
Pull the shade.
Yes, pull a shade. Very nice. I don't think anybody here would like somebody putting a 2-story apartment complex next to their house, because that's what it's going to be like all summer for me. There's that. So I was, that's my concern, is my privacy and my property value. And then I was told that it has to have lights. Is this going to look like Vegas Strip year round? I mean, so the stargazing's out. These are things that I'd like to see some transparency to. Maybe put it in the footprint. I was never allowed to complain about anything Sandy Pines did, because Sandy would make me come to the meetings and join the board. and I didn't want to. So I never complained, but if something like that would be in.
But if you had come to some of the meetings and if you had come to some of the face-to-faces, this was even discussed by Gene.
I know, this was given to him by Gene,
Yeah,
I understand.
but what I'm asking you is to please become involved, come to meetings, listen.
No.
I know. It's not, you don't want
I
to.
appreciate people doing it, trust me.
Right.
I don't want to. This is my happy
But
place. I come here
I'm
to
not
do.
sure how much more transparent we can be.
Well, things of that, the insurance company saying that, 26th Street is got to be changed, or as Stephanie put it, people would have to get in their private vehicles and drive over, which apparently I had no idea on, how much campers put into Sandy Point. And you were saying something about the bicyclers that almost got hit, was that this year?
Yeah,
I
this is-
saw-
I saw.
Yeah, it was kids coming down 26th Street on
No,
bicycles.
little kids crossing over from
On
3 to 6.
Yes, but they were on the road, because I saw them too.
Well,
And
no,
one couldn't drive his bike and couldn't stop.
that's not the one I saw. The one I
Oh.
saw was going from across the street from the park.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe they
Oh,
were
yeah.
coming back, I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, one of them.
but no, I personally, I'm in 3 and I've seen several near misses.
Okay,
So, I mean, I'm just going based
I
on
knew
what
that
I
my
personally
neighbors,
have seen.
because I went and spoke with them because I was told that the people have, and, their main concern is phase 6 chapel entrance Sundays. With people skidding to a stop and no turn lane for.
We're
people to
looking
get
at that
off.
too. We're looking at that.
I mean,
I
would
know
that
that
be
it's
easier to
actually
move
really-
the gate, the arm in? So we can get 3 cars in instead of 1 at a time where the rest are stuck out in the streets? I think maybe that'd be something to look at. You know, I mean, just because I see it every day. Sandy and I were out last Thursday discussing the bridge. And we saw in a half hour, saw 2 people southbound having to hit their brakes. So people headed northbound could make a left into the park. And I get it, but, that's next.
It's just never easy. And the county and the township are not gonna help us.
No, we have nothing to do with them. And County Road Commission, you were right. You did what you had to do. Well, and all you had to do was just meet their criteria. What I'm saying, could do anything. This could happen to anybody. You buy the nice old piece of property, think you got a good deal. Tell your neighbor change it. So, something to think about.
Thank you.
And I will get a meeting with you on the lights and.
Okay. Those are you clear, this is only required by insurance.
It's not.
No.
We called the insurance company and they said they come around every few years and make recommendation.
The gentleman in the back, it's a recommendation. It's been highlighted as a hazardous risk. Our options are do something about it or pay an exorbitant amount of money when a fatality happens and lose insurance. The challenge we have with insurance, yes, yes.
Okay, I think we about talked this out and then going on 9:30 and we greatly appreciate everybody. I am going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. It was very.
I'd just like to say it was nice to see so many people. I wish we could get this many to come during the season instead of 10 people.